Alright everyone, so Trump is fundamentally correct. By the way, I would point out that even before Eric Adams himself was raided, when it was just his, campaign manager, I pointed out, I think, the same exact thing that Trump is saying, and he's right. Eric Adams is clearly being targeted for his statements with regards to the Biden administration and immigration. And no, here's the thing, and I pointed this out too. Show me the man, I'll show you the crime. Pretty much everyone in politics is dirty. They've done something that's illegal. Every single one of the people watching this video has probably unwittingly committed a felony at one point. All of you have committed misdemeanor crimes, even if it's just a fining offense. So it doesn't really matter who you are. If you step out of line and the powers that be don't like you, you can get fucked. Eric Adams is in that particular boat right now, and I'm sure that he's not particularly happy about it. He's been indicted now on fraud charges and then several other charges as well. And this was predictable. They're trying to take him out because, the campaign continues. He might make public statements with regards to immigration and make a big problem for Kamala Harris. The Biden administration continues to persecute its political opponents. Eric Adams is a goddamn Democrat. Kathy Hochul decided, well, I'm going to save myself because, I've committed crimes too. So I'm going to throw him under the bus and say, I'm considering using a dormant law to remove a mayor from the gubernatorial position. Well, very, very interesting. So he doesn't even get a trial, but he gets removed from his position. When have we seen that before? Yes, it's very, very strange because Eric Adams was one of the darlings of the left. He was considered this great guy. But all of a sudden, he speaks out against the Biden admin, and literally 2 weeks later, he gets raided by the FBI. Is this a coincidence? No, it is not a coincidence. The trigger was pulled, basically. What happens is that administrations gather dirt on political, political figures that are associated with them. It doesn't matter if it's a politician, journalist, influencer, fucking chief of some police department. It really doesn't matter. They keep dossiers on these people. And if they do anything that pisses the administration off, they give them a stern talking to, and if they continue, they end up like this. Eric Adams is probably guilty of fraud. I am saying that he is probably guilty. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to have an investigation at all. Generally speaking, of course. And in some cases, of course, they don't need any evidence at all to harass you. He's probably guilty. That being said, he never would have been invaded by the FBI. He never would have been indicted. None of this would be happening if he hadn't made those comments. Trump claims prescience on that. I think that Trump is 100% correct, and I predicted the same thing as well. That's why he'll probably also be found guilty, and he'll have to pay a shit ton of money and or have like some sort of sentence. It's basically, fuck you, you're speaking out against us, you're not allowed to do that. Well, I mean, you're a Democrat, you're not allowed to speak out against the Democratic administration now, are you? This is done by both parties on a regular basis. If the tables were turned, and all of a sudden, somebody spoke out, like let's say in Texas, they speak out against Greg Abbott and say, well, I think that his policies are fucking bullshit. And 2 weeks later, they get raided by the Texas State Police or something like that. Liberal media would jump all over and say this is an inside job. This is obviously a hit. But they're not saying that for some goddamn reason about Eric Adams being raided again in this manner. Of course, he's probably guilty. But then again, so are 90% of other Democratic politicians. They're all doing this. Pelosi insider trades, for example, all day. As long as she circles wagons around her higher allies, and you can't get much higher than the former Speaker of the House anyway, so she's more in the clear, then nobody does anything about it. We know that she's insider trading with her husband. We're acutely aware of this fact. When has the trigger been pulled? Never. Of course, she's not going to get investigated. They've got a dossier on her in case they need it, in case she does step out of line, although she is enjoying a very lavish lifestyle and won't. Eric Adams thought that he was acting in his political self-interest. by throwing the Biden administration under the bus and saying, look, and he's not wrong, your border policies are negatively impacting people in my city. You need to do something about this. And this is why politics is so screwed up. This sort of intrigue happens all the goddamn time. People don't even realize it most of the time. They don't even realize that it's happening. There are people out there, believe it or not, that are oblivious to the fact that it's not coincidental, the timing of the raid on Eric Adams. I assure you that there is a 100% chance that it's not coincidental. This is a hit job against somebody who spoke out against a corrupt administration that can't handle the U.S. border and doesn't want it to be a political issue. I'm surprised that they haven't decided to whack a couple of the other mayors and governors that have spoken out that are in the Democratic Party. Maybe it's because they don't have dirt on them. With Eric Adams, I guess he got sloppy. He didn't cover his paper trail and his digital trail quite enough, and so there was something there to be actually actionable. This is, by the way, why probably he'll be found guilty in the end. And again, Hochul is throwing him under the bus just the same way that Eric Adams technically threw Joe Biden under the bus. Now, his point stands. It's not wrong. The Biden administration has crippled the border situation. Fucking Kamala's going down there. She talks about the border in the most vacuous terms. Well, I think the border is very interesting and very important. Okay, but what are your policies? Well, I think that we need policies to improve the situation of the U.S. border. Okay, but that's not a specific policy. You're not telling us anything. God damn. She's the most empty suit candidate that I think has existed in U.S. political history for that particular office. You can't get a straight answer out of her under any circumstances. And she's continuing the tradition of Joe Biden and being rather on the vacuous side, although at least occasionally he uttered a coherent policy, like burying power lines, weatherizing them. That was a good idea. It never got done. It's just sort of like the Gaza Pier. Oh, good idea. Let's screw it up. This is basically the history of the Biden administration. We've got political pundits declaring his presidency to be some great thing. Please name a policy that has positively impacted the American people. There are none. That's the whole point. That's the problem. You think Kamala will do any different? And she'll continue, by the way, the policy of political persecution if she's allowed to take office. And by take office, I mean seize it. I don't mean being elected, because I can't imagine the American people are retarded enough to elect her. Not in a democratic fashion. No, she'll just continue the same policies. You'll have more of the same. You'll see other Democrats getting persecuted if they speak out. Oh God, if you speak out against the Kamala Harris regime, it's going to be way worse. You'd be much better just criticizing Joe Biden, because he may forget that you criticized him and not actually take action. Kamala, though, she's basically like a younger version of Hillary Clinton, plus she has the shield of being BIPOC, so if you criticize her, you're also racist as well. That's about all. Peace out.